In the late 1960s and early 1970s, the United States was divided over a host of social, moral, and political issues. Protest and turmoil seemed to be constantly escalating. In many cases, turned violent, and public fears were often expanded and intensified by experiencing all of this in real time through the growing power of live television. At the same time, an explosion of outdoor recreation was underway. In 1971, Bruce Brown's film, On Any Sunday, both documented and expanded a surge in off-road motorcycle riding and racing. 50 years later, in 2020, it seemed as if history was repeating itself.
Us as a company, May was the best retail month for selling motorcycles ever. I think people just want to get out and do something that's away from home, away from people, and get some freedom, and forget about all this crazy news that they see every day.
The people here at GNCC, the families that come here, they get freedom for a weekend. I haven't watched my television since I've been here.
In my neighborhood, kids, when they're younger, they're on bicycles and they're all playing, and then they get older, they're into phones. And honestly, in 2020, they brought their motorcycles back out. All the kids are riding together. It's cool. It's seeing everybody kind of get back together, and they can all go ride and have fun at different levels. And honestly, I just feel like it brings people together.
In 2020, we saw many depictions of the United States as divided. But in some homes and communities, people had not been more connected in years. For any real friendship to exist, there must be a shared passion. And few passions run deeper than off-road motorcycle racing.
The world needs dirt bikes to have fun. When you're stuck in a rut, when COVID's here, can't do this or that, you can go into the wilderness, or you can go to the track and grab your dirt bike and have fun and release all that built-up tension.
In part 2, we took a look at professional motocross and supercross, two of the premier U.S. championships for dirt bike racing. In part 3, we will look at the sport's foundations, the families and professionals of the GNCCs.
Are you ready to go GNCC Racing? 10 seconds.
I remember the first time I came in contact with off-road motorcycling. My cousins and I would watch the old Blackwater videos, and when the guys come through the 93 river crossing and start going up the hill, watching them fall and drown out their bikes and pulling them up the hill, and it looked fun and grueling. I just, seen the videos and I didn't even realize they were racing. Those guys were riding their motorcycles and it looked fun.
The Year of Jubilee was a Hebrew custom to be celebrated every 50 years. People took time off of work, displaced workers went home to their families, and everyone was encouraged to celebrate freedom. In the off-road motorcycle industry in 2020, all of these things were happening, and the sport had its greatest increase in 50 years.
How many laps are there, you think?
Well, this is the longest it's ever been. Last time we raced here was 13.2 miles and 14 miles today.
The Grand National Cross Country Racing Series, also known as the GNCCs, is both a gateway into racing for amateurs at all levels, as well as one of the premier off-road endurance championships in the world.
GNCC is big. There's thousands upon thousands of amateur racers that show up to these events. Motocross and Supercross is an awesome platform to showcase your product. But the people that race motorcycles and buy parts, they are the ones at these off-road races. It's not as marketable. You're in the woods, 13-mile track. You can't see all the action. It can't all be televised. It's people that love to ride their dirt bikes that make GNCC possible.
Most of these are educated fans. They go to find the hardest places that are on the track, the deepest mud holes or the biggest hill climb, and they want to be there. They want to be there to help.
We're going to be starting at 3 mile, so it's pretty much like a full lap for the fuel strategy. But depending on the lap times, we might actually need to fuel twice. This is the track that we use the most fuel.
GNCC is the test of endurance of the rider, but also the machine. When the flag waves, you start and they race 3 hours. You know, there's gas stop strategies, there's a lot of things that can go wrong.
Off-road, enduro, those are the guys in the trenches. They grind it out. When you're talking about guys like Kailub Russell, in my opinion, they don't get the credit they deserve or the money they deserve, unfortunately, because it's a grassroots program. It's out in the sticks in the woods. But that's where motorcycle racing stemmed from.
The brutality of racing the professional XC1 class at the GNCCs has elevated U.S. riders and their machines to the pinnacle of motorcycle endurance racing worldwide. 2 out of the last 4 years, the United States has won the International 6 Days Enduro, and 3 out of the 4 riders on Team USA were GNCC XC1 class racers, including 8-time XC1 national champion Kailub Russell.
We have a certain expectation underneath the tent. I asked Kailub when I first signed him, are you the guy? Are you the next guy? Kailub, when he was 18, he paused for a second and then said, I'm the guy, I'm your guy. And he hasn't disappointed. Kailub has carried that expectation very well for the last decade.
Why don't you race Stella?
This thing that she got crew for.
You think you can beat Stella? Yeah. I don't think you can beat Stella.
Yes, I can.
You ready? Set. Go.
Stella!
Boomer, come, look his face. Look his face. Look his face. Is it working? You know, when I was my son's age, I didn't grow up living with my dad. I grew up with my mom in Ohio, and she was cut hair at a beauty shop, and she's been in that kind of line of work for 30 plus years. And knowing what I know now about life and how things work, I know we were struggling.
Dinner's almost ready.
No, dinner's close.
It's not. Uh-oh.
It wasn't like you see these families, they're all together and they live for racing. It wasn't like that for me at a young age. Can you blow it? Blow it? Yep, cool it down. I just always had this in my head that this is what I was gonna do. I was gonna race a motorcycle. That was gonna be my job. But I don't really think I understood that you need to make money in order to have something to be your job. It wasn't until 2008 where my dad sat me down and was like, you know, I've got you this far and you're gonna have to make it on your own. He was pulling back on financially enabling me to continue. I was 18 at the time. That was when the recession came. KTM at the time, they pulled their budgets back. I knew if I didn't have a really good year, there's a good chance that I probably wasn't gonna be on the team the following year, just the way it felt. I'm on my own, 19 at the time. I'm living with my girlfriend's parents. I didn't have a salary at the time. I was riding for bonuses. You're on the Win to Eat program. Won the championship and set my trajectory for my career right then and there.
With a record 67 GNCC overall wins, a total of 16 championships in off-road disciplines from National Enduro to Sprint Enduro to GNCC, and leading the generation that brought the first 2 victories for Team USA at the International 6 Days Enduro. Kailub Russell has been the most dominant rider in American off-road since the 1980s, and in some ways, the greatest of all time.
There's not anyone in the recent history who has been so dominant. It's not that he hasn't had competition, and nothing has come easy for Kailub. He's battled through injuries, knee surgeries, shoulder surgeries throughout his career, but he's never been out the whole season. That's part of the reason why all these are taking a toll on his body, and why we're come to the end of his career at GNCC. You know, it takes a toll.
Might be a 7-lap race. So if it's 27 minutes, it could be either 7 or 6, because it could be, you know, so close.
Well, let's hope for 6.
If it goes to 7, we'll be doing overtime over 3 hours.
The announcement I made before 2020 was that I was going to retire and leave GNCC. And if you want to beat me, this is your last chance. It's done, it's over with. I'm not coming back.
Kailub looking to go green flag to checkered flag. About as flawless of a GNCC ride as you could ask.
This has been my best season since 2015. The guys are going fast. They've stepped it up. They're better than they ever have been. But I've been edging them out.
Russell takes the pass, leaving the door open was the Circo ride of Stu Mailer.
I know other guys are there, obviously, to win the race, but it's just different with him. Like, he's going to win the race. His mindset is so strong, he breaks them down that way.
And there he is, Kailub Russell, win number 7 in just 8 rounds of racing.
Kailub started the 2020 GNCCs by winning 7 out of the first 8 rounds. But at round 10 in Millfield, Ohio, he hit a tree and tore his PCL and meniscus.
When I first got the news on the radio that Kailub is down, all I can think of is that knowing Kailub, it has to be bad. We've been in this situation before with Kailub. You know, he's had some bad crashes, broke things and still finished a race.
2 weeks after the crash, Russell lined up at round 11, hoping to gain 5 points on his closest rival and clinch the championship.
With the very extreme dust conditions, we had to change air filters twice. Towards the end of the race, his main rival started to pick up the spots and pace, and all of a sudden had to put on a board that, you know, you must gain 1 more spot. It wasn't until we saw him coming out of the woods, you know, just before the finish line, and he's in 3rd, that we knew that that's enough to clinch the championship.
I've always been really good under pressure when my back's up against the wall. I could just go into this blackout mode and shut my brain off, trying to ignore all the pain and win at all costs.
8-time GNCC national champion.
I can slowly see that deteriorating towards the end of my career. Like, I don't have that same want and desire. I'm feeling more content nowadays. That comes with, you know, being as successful as I have been.
You ready to go, bud? Get your gear. Let's go. Can you do this yet?
No.
Why not? You're 5 years old.
You can put your socks on. Give me your foot. You want it on this foot first? All right, big jump.
Collins, can you get Bubba his boots?
There they are. Oh, look at that. Being a good parent is just teaching your kids right from wrong, and you know, life's not easy. It's hard, and my dad wasn't around all the time when I was my son's age to kind of instill that thought in me, but I still learned it. Being around isn't such a necessity as it is to what you actually do with your kid when you are around. So yeah, but it's important. Obviously, you always want your child to have more than what you had growing up, and being around here with Chandler, and she's always got her family around, and it wasn't sort of like that for myself. So it's good to have that family atmosphere and share it with my children now, what I never experienced.
In order to see the resurgence of families coming together for off-road racing in 2020, the best place to look might be the Ironman GNCC. Held on harvested cornfields and the surrounding woods in Crawfordsville, Indiana, it is one of the largest celebrations of off-road motorcycles in the world.
This series was in Georgia, finishing up round number 3 when the world stopped, and we had almost 50 people that were motorcycle enthusiasts, and we sat down and we created a plan for us to get back to work. And we were able to go to our health departments and lay the book down and say, this is our plan. And they look at it and they said, wow, this is a better plan than we see most anywhere else, or maybe even a better plan than they had. We've gotten 12 GNCCs in, we've gotten 9 pro motocrosses in, we got the Loretta Lynn Amateur National Championships, no void in the history book. And our race leadership team, we've been monitoring our communities that we race in. We followed their cases leading up to and afterwards. We don't show any evidence where we negatively impacted any community. From what we understand, everyone's healthy. I think there's something to being in the great outdoors.
Ironman is the biggest, baddest race of the year. Hopefully even in 2020. There's the Ironman hill climb and just thousands of people hanging out on this hillside. They got to put these fences up down there and send sheriffs to keep people out of the damn way, and it's more family oriented. I got crew racing now and go down the starting line with him, got all the kids around. He's turned into a bigger celebrity on the starting line than I have.
On the Saturday night before the motorcycle race at Ironman, GNCC leadership and KTM came together to honor the recently crowned 8-time national champion with a production motorcycle in his name and a chance to speak to the Ironman crowd one last time as a racer.
Gotta thank all you fans and racers. If it wasn't for you guys being here and supporting GNCC and the racing, none of this would ever be possible for any pro rider. We love you too.
You look at other disciplines of motorcycling, road racing, motocross to an extent, you sometimes question what's our future like. And the future's here. We had 1,500 motorcycles here racing today. I think that's pretty darn good.
Families are reconnecting together, and they're seeing off-road motorcycling as a way to get out and enjoy the outdoors and be together and do something that they all love, and it's helping to grow the sport of motorcycling right now.
We are just moments away from getting GNCC racing up and rolling here. It is Thad Duvall taking the early lead, the whole shot in this one.
Why people need dirt bikes. If they're like me, it's that love of freedom, of riding, and especially when you're just out in a field by yourself, you actually have control.
There is a clarity that only comes from racing at high speeds. A power that can only be earned by overcoming. And a freedom that can only be found in a family. In 2020, we were given many reasons to be afraid. But in the world of off-road motorcycles, it was a year of jubilee.
You start to feel the heat, you feel tired. Ride so hard you forget about it.
There's nothing like seeing him perform. When he flows, it's unbelievable, you know, the feeling you get.
It's amazing when you're watching him and you have people coming up to you, hey, how you doing, man? Your son's awesome. And it's like, oh man, I appreciate that.
Having these breaks, you definitely underestimate how much fun our job really is. You think that I want to sit on the couch and be able to do whatever I want, but after a week that gets old pretty quick.
You grow under pressure. Difficult times and pressure, that's how you sharpen, and that's what the racing does. There's still that excitement every time they're about to drop the gate. That same butterfly feeling that I get, hoping they're going to make it through the first corner, there's going to be no crashes, they're going to get a good start.
My son, this is his first GNCC race, and it's very stressful yet exciting. He's hit a tree in every race.
Wrecks. People want to watch wrecks.
Yeah, the wrecks. I mean, I don't want anybody to get hurt, but...
Just the pure adrenaline rush of sending it through the trees, man. You know, out here when you're racing between the trees, it's like all your other problems in the world just fade away, and it's like that awesome bliss.
What's it like being married to a motocrosser?
Busy. Yeah, we just got married not even a month ago. He's worth it though. He's worth all the travels and long rides.
Crew, he loves riding, but I get frustrated because as a professional athlete, like, you don't want to keep making the same mistake over and over, and like, I'll watch him fall in the same turn like 3 laps in a row. I'm like, dude, move over. Don't go there anymore. So I just let him, I'm like, hey, if you want to fall down, I'll stand here and pick you up. Just keep going.